1 minute until showtime.
Whoa! One more time. Whoa! You know, for a holiday weekend, I think we're okay.
Almost standing room only, isn't it,
Almost
Rich?
standing room only.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Now, from the world's most famous beach, from where beach racing began, it's the Legends of Racing radio show. Live from racing's original North Turn Beach Bar and Grill in Ponce Inlet, Florida. The Legends of Racing radio show. And your host, Buzz McKim.
Well, welcome. It's a strange day today. It's a holiday weekend. Obviously, I'm not Buzz McKim. This is not Buzz McKim, and that's not Buzz McKim. We all miss him, but Buzz is off at Ford Motor Company's putting on a big display deal party for 75 years in NASCAR racing. They're doing that in Charlotte. Buzz has been, and they're doing it with the Wood brothers, which Ford's been with for that 75 years. And Buzz has been invited to get a black tie and show up and drink some margaritas or something of that nature. But he's having fun. And so we'll take over and run this show today. Maybe we'll do something a little different than Buzz. You know, Buzz is one of those guys, he's got all the details in the back of his mind, and he can tell you every car. I asked him one day about, in 1956, I said there was a car racing out here on the beach, and it was a black and white car, and I was wanting to do something like that. And he says, oh yeah, that was this guy, and that was a two-tone 56, and these are the colors. He was on top of it. I just wanted to know about the car. So anyway, I'm Rich Combs. My co-host is Tony Hines, and our guest today is Bob Stoekel from Volusia Speedway.
Thank you. Thank you.
And what I can say about that is, I just told him I think you would be a very good insurance salesman. So I think we're in for fun today, if you understand that. Right, Bob?
You're absolutely right,
Okay.
Rich.
Well, let's get going, and let me tell you that this portion of the show is brought to you by Staples on International Speedway, and we thank them. So let's get going. Tell us something.
Well, Rich, I've been announcing at Volusia Speedway, and Tony, and for the audience, this is my 13th year out there. It's not a job. It's the greatest thing possible if you're a race fan. You get the best seat, you get to meet the drivers, you get to know what goes on behind the scenes. Even if things don't go right during the show, the fans have a good time.
Oh, yeah,
So-
absolutely. I know all of you have been to Volusia. If you're a fan and you're a racing fan and you're here, you've been to Volusia. I was just saying about, the 10 days or so they run the World of Dirt or whatever they call that
Dirt
in
Car
early,
Nationals.
in early February. It's the best show on earth, without a doubt, if you're a racing fan. And I'm assuming, what did you tell me, you ran 15 days in a row?
Yes, we ran 15 nights for the Dirt Car Nationals this year in February. We started in January with the annual Sunshine Nationals, which is strictly late models. We had, 180 late models that we ran for 4 days. And then we had 2 days off, 2 or 3 days off, and then we started Dirt Car Nationals, and we ran 15 nights. We took Super Bowl Sunday off, and we never got rained out once. It was a phenomenal show. We have the World of Outlaws late models. We have the NOS Energy NOS Energy sprint cars out there, World of Outlaw sprint cars, and it's just a great show. And I got the best seat in the house.
Oh yeah, well,
You know,
I'd love to have your job for a day. I wouldn't do the job. I'd just look.
there you go.
So that's a great show. And what I said a minute ago, you can go to Charlotte. Charlotte has a really a great dirt race there outside of the Speedway, but it's fantastic. But it's nothing like what we've got here every weekend.
Greatest place in the world.
Yeah. Am I a good promoter for your show?
You are. So let me tell you folks a little history about my racing. I've never raced. Okay, I did get to drive a couple cars at Volusia. I drove a Thunderstock.
Okay.
And I drove a 3/4 modified, not in a race, but for practice, because you just got to do it. It's kind of like if you're going to work on an airplane, you better know how to fly them. If you're going to talk about racing, you ought to know what it kind of feels like. So when I was a kid, I'm from upstate New York, big block modified country up there, and my dad worked at Orange County Fair Speedway, and as a little kid, like 5 years old, I got to go to the races. And my dad had a Sunoco station, and the only thing I wanted to do on a Saturday night was go to Middletown. And I was very fortunate that my dad would take me, and back in the day, if you folks remember, you had to be 16 years old before you could get in the pits. And there was no women allowed in the pits back in the 70s. So my dad wanted to get me in the pits one day, and he asked the promoter, Larry Granger, he said, "Hey, can I get my son in the pits?" And Larry says, "Well, how old is he?" My dad said, well, how old does he look? He looks 12. I was 10. This is not no lie. So I was 10 years old, and Larry said to my dad, "You can, as long as he goes and stays in the truck, he can go in the pits with you." Well, that was amazing. And let me go back a few years. I don't know if anybody knows big block modifieds in the Northeast. Bud Olson, if you remember the name. His wife, Audrey Olson, I used to sit in the grandstands with her. So anyway, I was at Orange County Fair Speedway every Saturday night. We used to go to Accord on a Friday. We went to Middletown on a Saturday. We went to Nazareth on a Sunday. Nazareth, that track's closed. And it was just, as a little kid, I can still relive those features. I was a big Jackie Evans fan, and Jackie got killed in Reading, I think, 72. Then I was a big Buzzy Rudiman fan.
Oh, yeah.
I still am. And then I went to Volusia one day, and I was just telling my buddies here, well, they already knew the story. And the way I got started at Volusia was I announced quarter midgets at New Smyrna since 2001, 2002, when they built that track, and we can talk about that too. Buddy of mine went out to Volusia on a Saturday night, and some of my quarter midget kids were racing, and they didn't have an announcer. So I told Ralph, I said, "I'm going to go up the tower and see if they need any help." And he says, "You're crazy." Sat there for another race, and the cars are going around, and nobody's saying anything. I said, "That's it. I'm going up to the tower." So I knock on the door. This is the old tower at Volusia. Knock on the door. Lady answers. I said, "You guys have an announcer tonight?" And she says, "No." I said, "Well, maybe I can help you." She says, "Well, who are you?" I said, "I'm a nobody, but I can call a race."
Oh, good.
Okay? So
Yep.
she says, "Hold on." So she goes over to the office, calls Wendy Underwood, and she says, "Let him do one heat race and see how he does." So they hand me a piece of paper with 10 numbers on it and no names. And I said, "I don't want to be a smart aleck or anything, but the whole reason that I knocked on the door is because I don't know who's driving what." So they gave me the starting lineup, excuse me, for the heat race. I did the one heat race, and I've been there ever since. So that's a story about my getting that job at Volusia. And like I tell you folks, if obviously you're all race fans, we're all race fans, and if it's your passion, something that you've had a passion for your whole life, and you get to sit in that tower at Volusia, there's 5 of us up there.
Oh, okay.
And it's the best seat in the house. You get to talk about what you love. You can put excitement in it, and you get to interview the drivers. And we had this kid, Ethan Wan, win a 3/4 modified feature last Saturday night. First, he's been trying for 5 or 6 years. First win ever. It's emotional.
Oh, yeah.
Kid was in tears, so you put your arm around him, and it's moments like that just make the job so rewarding, And then you run back up the tower and you call the next race.
Well,
so it's great.
when I go to a good dirt track race, my whole mind is just, I'm seeing so many things that are happening in front of me. It's relaxing in a way.
It is.
You just can, there's no pressure, there's no stress. Volusia's the place to be for
is.
that.
I read
So-
something on the website that there's a rule that trailers in the infield can't be more than 9 feet tall. So sitting in the grandstands, you can see the back stretch.
Correct. Yep. We keep
Yep.
all the big toter homes with the big double stack trailers. They're all up the hill or at the gator pond.
Yeah.
So
I hadn't thought about that, but that's
Yeah.
exactly true, isn't it?
It is. And there isn't a bad seat at Volusia. I don't know if you folks have been out there lately, but World Racing Group is who I work for now. They have done a phenomenal job on that place. They put up a 20-foot catch fence. They raised the wall. They added new bleachers. They put a new tower in. They added grandstands off of turn number 2 on the back straightaway. It's really, I call it the Eldora of the South. It's a top-notch facility. And Rich, you mentioned about relaxing, and I got to tell you folks a little story. I lost my dad, I don't know, 17 years ago now, but he used to come down because I've lived in Florida for a long time, and we used to go to Daytona. And I don't know if anybody knows Captain Hall. Bill Hall used to be in charge of security at the Speedway. So I knew him very well, and we got garage passes. And that's when they used to qualify on Sunday, and then they had round 2 on Monday, and they had this. They had something for 10 straight days.
Yep.
Yeah, it was speed weeks. And my dad and I used to go down there, and we would just sit on pit road wall at Daytona and just watch the cars all day. And I can do that today. When I was a kid growing up at Middletown, I would go in turn 1 and 2, and to this day, watching those late models or modifieds go down the front straightaway, throw that thing sideways. Half the time they never lift. It never gets old. And when we're practicing on a Friday night, I don't have to be up in a tower. Where are you going to find Bob? You're going to find him either in 3 or in 1. And I've been doing it for 60 years, and it never gets old. It's great.
Well, that's a testament to racing in general. The one thing you didn't mention, you're talking about looking. I could sit down there with my eyes closed. I love the sound of cars.
Yeah.
And if you've been around racing, if you've just been around cars, you know what car's coming. The exhaust note has got a tune that you understand and you can hear. You don't have to be a mechanic, and you can tell which ones are running good.
Exactly.
It's something to experience.
So I'm glad you brought that sound thing up, Rich. So when I was a kid, I never went to a concert. Music concerts, they did nothing for me. Well, when you're in high school, all your buddies and whoever, they're going to this concert, they're going to that concert. I was in Syracuse at the Mile in 1972 until I moved to Florida, right? Rudin and Buzzy won the first 2 of them. And I would tell my friends in high school, the best concert in the world is 44 big blocks taking the green flag at Syracuse. There is no other sound in the world that sounds better than that. And that's what I told them. And you probably think I'm crazy, but that's the way it is.
Yeah.
You know, it's great.
Well, you know, some Hollywood promoter or some Nashville music guy should sort of think this through after hearing you and I talk about it and say, let's take those sounds and let's put them into a recording type
There you
thing.
go.
Yeah,
Yep.
They could make that work.
Yeah.
It's a great thought. So it's
You
It's
mentioned sitting up on the turns during practice. We had Dick Bergeron here. And I asked Dick, there's this talk now, some of the broadcasters are doing remote broadcasts
Really,
where the announcers aren't even at the track.
really, they're just
And I said, well, is that really that big a deal? And he said,
yeah.
it's
Well,
walking through the pitch, talking to people,
It is.
watching
Yep.
practice. Yeah.
it's great. You know, another story. Then I'll get to the quarter midgets, which was really a special place in my heart when I did the quarter midgets for.
You want to
20
explain the
years.
quarter midgets to our audience?
Okay, so quarter midgets. if you folks aren't familiar with them, they're a quarter size of a midget. Tony Stewart started in them. Jeff Gordon started in them. I don't know if Kyle Larson started in quarter midgets or not, but Ryan Newman did. At New Smyrna Speedway, and I'll go back to how it started. In 2000, Mark Martin, Randy Dye, and Mr. Hart got together. Mr. Hart owns New Smyrna Speedway. Matt is Mark's son and wanted a place for him to race, other than Apopka, which ran on Friday nights, quarter midgets, and Mark was off cup racing, so Mark couldn't be with Matt. So Mr. Hart and Randy Dye and Mark Martin got together, and they decided, Mr. Hart said, yes, you can build a quarter midget track on my property. Well, Randy and Mark are thinking, it's going to be out in the parking lot, it's going to be up the hill, it could be across the street. You guys know New Smyrna, right? The layout. Mr. Hart says, no, we'll just build it inside the track in 1 and 2. And it's like, really? So they built the racetrack. So from 2001, I was involved with the quarter midgets. My boys raced there. I was president of the club. I was announcing. And I've done the quarter midgets from 2001 up until probably 3 years ago, announcing there, because it got so busy at Volusia. We'd run on a Friday night or we'd practice, and I couldn't do both of them anymore. So Ryan Stevens is the announcer at New Smyrna. He does that now. But the quarter midgets, it was amazing to watch those kids. You can practice a quarter midget at 4.5 years old. It's just it's crazy.
Are
and then
those two-cylinder single?
Nope, they're Honda motors. They're 120cc or 160cc. Now they use the Predator motor that I think Briggs and Stratton makes the Predator.
That's it.
That's another motor. It's on a 1/20th of a mile track. You can build it right around this building right here. And they go about 30, 35 miles an hour. When they hit pretty good. But, announcing at the quarter midget track brought me into Quarter Midgets of America, QMA. I wound up doing the Grands, the Eastern Grands. Like, they would fly me to Indy. I went to Ohio. I went to Wall Stadium, Thompson, Connecticut. They all have quarter midget tracks.
Yep.
So I got to do that. Gasoline Alley. The quarter midgets were so much fun. And I have I think the honor that we've had 25 banquets for the quarter midget track. I have emceed 25 banquets.
Okay.
Even though I'm not involved anymore, I still MC it. And I have a program of every kid that raced there for 25 years.
Let me stop you there and we'll take a break.
Okay.
How's that?
Okay.
The caution flag is out. Time for a break. We'll be right back with the Legends of Racing radio show. At Beach Boys Embroidery and Tees, it's all about making you happy. Beach Boys Embroidery can customize your athletic golf apparel, caps, hats, badges, buttons, magnets, backpacks, bags, totes, clocks, watches, and of course, T-shirts. Sure, they're at 2033 South Ridgewood Avenue in South Daytona, and they're waiting for you to call now. 386-255-5880. Beach Boys Embroidery and Tees. Let Aloha Marine get you on the water with huge discounts on great brands like Bayliner, Carolina Skiff, Hurricane, Key West, and Regal. Pay as little as $169 a month with 10% down and approved credit. Don't wait. Get to Aloha Marine, 1700 North Nova Road, Holly Hill, Monday through Saturday. 47 years and always better than boat show prices. We're back from where it all began, racing's original North Turn Beach Bar and Grill. The Legends of Racing radio show continues with your host, Buzz McKim.
Well, we're back with Bob Stoekel here again. I think he started off pretty strong. I think you'll agree to that. This is a good, we're hearing some stuff that if you're just a race fan, you don't hear. And this is the backside of that, and that's wonderful. We want to hear those backside stories that you're telling. This portion of the program is brought to you by Legends of Racing Radio Facebook page. And with that, you want to continue? You had a story you were talking about with quarter midgets. Did I cut you off?
No, you're. I can continue. I got lots of
well,
stories. But you asked me. We can get off the quarter midgets, or I can talk about
Oh, we'll
quarter
talk
midgets
about
more.
anything. I just didn't want to cut you off.
Oh no.
Tony will get you.
Talking about young kids and
Right.
the quarter midgets, you got a kid, Cale Van Sickle.
Yes, absolutely. Quarter midget
15
kid.
years old.
Yeah.
Is he still quarter midget, or is
No.
he moved up now?
No. So, Cale Van Sickle raced quarter midgets, and then 3 years ago, his dad, Kyle Van Sickle, and his uncle Ryan. Kyle and Ryan are brothers, and Kyle Van Sickle, very well-known late model driver in the Southeast. He's a wheelman, right? He puts Cale in the car at 12. The kid won a feature, a 6.0. He didn't go to three-quarter modifieds. He didn't go to street stocks, thunder stocks. He went right into 602 late models.
Oh.
Won a feature his first year, and he's our reigning 2024 track champion.
Wow.
Yep. The kid, he's amazing. And, these kids, and I'll use another one, Trey Mills. I don't know if you
Yeah.
heard. I think
We've had
you've
Trey
had
on the
Trey.
show.
Friend of the show.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Trey went from racing go-karts, and I know his mom and dad very well. Stanton ran late models at Volusia and in Florida for years. I think I had the honors of interviewing Trey and his first 602 late model feature win at Volusia. He was also 12 years old. And this kid, I'm telling you, he wasn't this big.
Yeah.
He just looks like he got out of the third grade. And here he gets out of this, powerful 602 late model, and he's standing in victory lane. It's amazing. And actually, when they put dirt on Bristol, he won one of the features.
Oh, really?
Yes,
I didn't know that.
At Bristol, yeah, a few years ago. Wow. But yeah, these kids, they're just amazing. And
Well, you know all of these kids, and you just gave us we're always wanting to bring those forward and promote them. You need to give us a list of your guys. We'd love to have them on.
I can fill you up every week if you want. But, and the Van Sickles, now Cale's not running with us this year. They have what they call, Southern Clash Series, Southern Late Model Clash Series. He's running that series, so they're going to run. We don't have them at Volusia. We're kind of independent because we're owned by World Racing Group. But they're going to run Needmore, Golden Isle, Waycross, and Alltech. It's kind of like a 8-race point series.
Yeah.
So he's running that, and Trey Mills is running Hunt to the Front, which is the big boys motors. It's not the World of Outlaws, and it's not the Lucas Oil, but it's the same motor, same car. It's just that those guys haven't elected to travel across the country.
Yeah.
But yeah, these kids, it's amazing. And when I get to interview one of I call them my kids, quarter midget kids. I mean, it's like big hugs in victory lane, But yeah, it's amazing.
Well,
so
get us that list because we want to be able to say they're part of our family.
I will. They would be glad to do it.
Okay.
Seriously.
Now you work at Alltech also.
I help Wendell out. Yes,
Yeah.
I work up there whenever he needs me. Actually, tomorrow I'm going to Brunswick, Georgia, to Golden Isle Speedway. I'm a race director up there this year.
Oh.
So tomorrow I'm doing double duty. I'm announcing. I haven't done this before. Announcing and race directing. So because they don't have an announcer, so Bob's going to try to do both. But it's fun. And for you folks that aren't really familiar with dirt car racing, and the thing that I tell most of the people that like racing, one of the things that I love about dirt car racing, and I know my buddies over here, I love asphalt racing too, but to me there's no comparison. And the reason that there's no comparison to Bob is when those guys and girls strap their butts in those race cars, there are no mirrors, there are no spotters, and there is no communication. The only communication in a dirt car is the race director in the tower. They have an earbud.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
one-way communication system.
Yep.
So Rich is the race director. He's going to say, Connors, you're going to start on the outside of row number 5. He can't do whatever he wants to do back to Rich. He can yell all he wants, but he can't hear you. It's one-way communication, and only one person has the radio, and that's the race director. So if you race fans go to Volusia or watch any dirt track, and they're 3 wide going into turn number 3, just remember they can't do this because of the Hans device and the seat restraints and everything else. It's by the seat of their pants and by sound. And to me, that separates the men from the boys. It's just, and the women from the girls. I guess you would say that, right? Yeah.
Well,
it's great.
that's what we all want. And we look at it now and we talk about it. And as you were saying that, we got a dirt track racer sitting back there named Mike Boland. I'm looking at Mike, and as you're saying, none of the things that a system that
Right.
they can get to.
Exactly.
I see Mike's head. He's shaking yes.
You
Look
got
at
to
him.
agree
There
with
he
me,
is
right,
there.
Mike?
That's the way he drove them. That's the way
Exactly.
we want to see other people drive 'em.
Exactly. You know, you don't go down the straightaway either watching your computer screen now that they have, or, you know, you got 16 mirrors that they're not even looking out front.
That's right.
They're looking behind them, see who they can block. But now the dirt is, like I said, I could be at a dirt track every day. Seriously. I know it sounds really crazy. And another thing, Rich and Tony, I've had a couple hips replaced, knees replaced, foot reconstructed. I have a hard time walking. And this is crazy. But when I get to a racetrack and the adrenaline starts and you start your job, I do those tower stairs. There's 56 stairs up and down. I do them 10 times a night.
Oh.
Nothing hurts until the drive home. But seriously, it's just if you have that passion, I can't describe it. It's great.
Have you had to call one of the Crown Vic races at all?
I have.
That,
yes.
how wild is that?
We had Crown Vics at Volusia. We ran them twice last year, I think. And we didn't bring them back this year. And I'll talk more about Volusia in a couple of minutes. But those guys, they're having a lot of fun. And we have one of the races last year, Dalton Straley won it. Dalton has run Thunderstock, Street Stocks, Modifieds, late models, everything. And he bought a Crown Vic. He says he's got about $4,000 in it, okay? Because you gotta knock the windows out. You got to put a cage in it. You know, you got to can't touch the motor. You can't touch a lot of stuff. And he won last year. I think we paid him, I don't know, $200 maybe, $300, right? Said it's the most fun he ever had, and he can drive that car to the gas station and put gas in it. but they have a blast, and I was at Alltech a couple weeks ago, and they had like 27 of them, and it's a pretty slam bang fest. But yeah, it's upcoming, but they're wild.
That's what people want out of racing.
They do.
You see, Tony's all excited when he asks you that. He's
Yeah,
happy about it.
He wants to see those Crown Vics doing a lot of door slamming out there.
The problem is, I can envision myself driving
Doing one. There you go. I can get you a ride, probably.
Yeah, Crown Vic.
Yeah.
You can drive that.
Yeah.
You know?
I think maybe we ought to get a radio show, Crown Vic, and we'll make Tony the driver. Does everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
Look at that.
There you go.
Yeah. All right.
So, Tony, I was at Ocala Speedway about a month ago. Well, you guys had Joe Lineberry or Joe Dirt on here.
Yes, we did.
It was last year. Joe and I are good friends. So it was Bristol weekend, and my wife and I, we weren't racing at Volusia, so I needed to go to a dirt track. So we drive over to Ocala, and I get there. Of course, I know Bubba, and I know Candace and everybody. Well, they had a guy that was going to announce. So I wound up announcing over there at Bubba's that night, and they had Crown Vics, and those guys – they're crazy. So what they did is, you know, I don't know if there's any racer out there that would try to cheat. No? Yes? Maybe? You're not cheating unless you get caught, right? So what they did is they've had some issues with these guys on the Crown Vics with the computers. They're doing whatever they're doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So after the feature at Ocala Speedway, there was like 20 of them. They had the tech guy out there with a computer. It was the last race of the night. And they hooked up not the top 3, not the top 5, but every Crown Vic that raced to make sure that they weren't. They caught a couple guys. But, yeah, we don't race Crown Vics this year. We race we had Top Gun sprints last week, but we call it the Fab 5. And our next race will be June 14th. And we have 3/4 modified, UMP modifieds, factory stocks, 602 late models and 604 late models.
It's a good show.
$13 to get in.
Oh.
And if anybody wants to go, I might have a free pass if any of our fans out there would want to come out to Volusia.
You going, Larry? Okay.
I got a ticket for you. You don't like Volusia? I'm just kidding. One more minute? Okay. So anyway, yeah, so our next race is June 14th, and we're very light on the schedule this year, which doesn't make me very happy, but I don't make those decisions. It's tough. We had Wendell, you guys had Wendell Durrance here.
Yes.
From Alltech. I know the numbers. I've known the numbers at Volusia. And when I started out there in 2014, let me know when she's ready.
Go ahead.
They would, what World Racing Group would do is they would lease the speedway from March 1st to December 31st. You and I, the three of us, could go there and say, we pay the X amount of dollars, we're responsible for everything, okay? And then you hand them the keys back, and then they get the facility ready for Dirt Car Nationals. This is my 6th boss that I've worked for, and it's very tough. The first lady that I worked for was Wendy Underwood. We got rained out 16 times in one season, and she went broke. I shouldn't have used that word, but it's tough. It's a tough business.
With that, let's go to break.
Okay.
Flag is out.
Yeah,
Time for a break. We'll be right back with the Legends of Racing Radio Show. Racing's original North Turn is our broadcast headquarters. If you're looking for a good drink, great entertainment, and the best in food, they're right on the beach at Racing's original North Turn. Come on down to dinner tonight. Here are a couple of testimonials. These are actual testimonials from people who have enjoyed the North Turn. Been there many times, always great food and drinks, great location on the beach. And another, what a great experience. It's my new favorite restaurant in the Daytona Beach area, Racing's Original North Turn on South Atlantic Avenue. That's A1A in Ponce Inlet, about 3.2 miles south of the Dunlawton Bridge and A1A intersection. It's Racing's Original North Turn, a restaurant, museum, bar, gift shop, live music. That's Racing's North Turn. Racing's Original North Turn has been voted by you Best Beach Bar Top 10 year after year after year. We're back from where it all began. Racing's Original North Turn Beach Bar and Grill. The Legends of Racing Radio Show continues with your host, Buzz McKim.
Hey! Well, we have a heck of a show going on here because we have a heck of a guest. This section of the show is brought to you by Daytona Flea and Farmers Market, voted one of the top 5 markets in the country by USA Weekend. And we'd like to see you go out and visit and have fun there. We do the same. So at this point, we have a question from the audience, and this is Doris. Racing Doris, I think we'll call her.
Hello, Doris. Be nice to me now.
Okay. Hi, Bob.
Hi.
And Tony and Rich. This is normally Tony's question spot, so
Okay.
I got enlisted to take
Okay.
over. We've had several or a few racetrack promoters in the last few weeks.
Right.
And they've talked about trying to keep everything under control as far as the cars being legal. They particularly talked about tires.
Right.
So what does Volusia do in that area?
So what we do at Volusia is we run our heat races. We can take a tire sample. Basically what they do is they have a knife and they cut a piece of the rubber. They cut a piece of the tire, and we send it off to the lab. And if you put simple green on your tire, it's going to come back failed. Did you do that once before? That gentleman is raising his hand back there. So it's a tough situation. We have a couple drivers, and obviously I'm not going to mention their names now, they're suspended until they pay the fine because they got caught with illegal tires. And, one of them is going to say that, well, he ran East Bay. When East Bay closed, you could prep tires at East Bay. Well, if you run the same tires at East Bay and everybody's prepping their tires, Could it get in your tire? Sure. So you come to Volusia, you run the race, you finish in the top 3, top 5. We cut your tire, send it off. It fails the sample. So yeah, it's a big deal, prepping tires.
I saw that story. Oh,
Tony.
And
He just speaks right up, doesn't he?
Come on, Tony.
Does he do this at home?
so that analysis is really done after the fact.
Oh,
and
yes.
That's going to change the outcome of the race.
Absolutely.
If someone's running illegal.
Yes,
Okay.
and that's what happened. So the sad part about that is, and I'm not going to mention names. I do the interview in Victory Lane, right? You get the check there and this, that, and the other thing, and he's on the camera, and we're live on Dirt Vision every time we race. And then we send the tire samples back, or we send them out, and 4 or 5 days later we found out they got DQ'd. So the guy that finished second gets to win the race, but he gets none of the attention there in Victory Lane. And it's part of the deal, but there's no way that we could have the chemistry that to do the samples there at the racetrack at the time of. But it happens a lot.
I read that story, and the insult to injury is you also have to pay for your tire test.
You do.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, you should. That's right.
Well, yeah, but
Well, it's not only you get stripped of the win. If say you won $1,000, you got to give the $1,000 back. Well, we don't pay you until the tire samples come back. You got to give the trophy back, and then you have to pay a fine, and then you're suspended for the next race.
Yeah.
So it doesn't pay to do it. A real funny story, and again, I won't mention names. This guy, he was a good friend of mine. His kids raced quarter midgets, and he was running a late model. His kid was running a late model, and he swore somebody was cheating. So he demanded that we take a tire test off of the guy that won. And we said, okay. So the tech man took a tire test from him, and he went over to the guy that protested, and he took a tire sample of his of his left rear. Guess what? He's the one that got caught.
I could see that
He's the one.
coming.
It's like, well, he's never going. Who's going to check a left rear? You're going to check the right rear, or the right front. But no, yeah, it's serious business. And the tech part of it, I would never. I'm not smart enough, number one, to be a tech man, but I would never want that job because no matter what you do, you're picking on Rich, you're picking on Tony, you're picking on Michael. It's tough.
well, we do have a tech guy back there, Norm.
Yes, I know. Norm teched our go-karts for years at Belize.
Oh, really?
He's not listening. Norm, yeah, he was our go-kart guy out there.
He's a world champion.
Is he really?
Yes. He go-karts
Right.
like you're seeing.
Right?
On Daytona, he's ran like 160, 170 miles an hour laying back in one of those.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a real hero.
That is.
Yeah.
He's really crazy, too, if he's doing that as far as I'm
But
concerned.
he loves being the tech guy.
Oh, yeah.
He
Yep,
walked in here last week, and he's showing me he had a, what's the little
Restrictor plate.
restrictor plate
Yep. Yeah, the restrictor
out of
plate.
a go-kart, and
Yep.
was showing me the colors and how.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So how many people do you know that walk around with restrictor plates in their pocket?
Yeah.
He's
Norm.
he's a guy.
He's not even listening to us. We're talking about you, Norm. But no, he did great. That the go-kart track, and I know Norm is probably upset about this, but the go-kart racing has come to an end at Volusia. We ran last year, and it was very trying, to say the least. So they took the grandstands down, they took the flag stand down, knocked the tower down. So they're going to use it as a camper parking area.
Well,
So no more go-karts.
well, I know you're a good promoter. I can tell that just by the way you talk. What do you do to promote the weekly racing? How do you get the people in?
Well, what I try to do is mostly at the racetrack, because I stand in front of the audience and I do the invocation, and I have all of our kids that are there participate in the national, or not the national, but the Pledge of Allegiance, and I look up on the grandstands and I see mostly older guys like us, and it's like, how are we going to keep the sport that we love alive when I look in the grandstands and it's all us old guys? How are we going to get the kids to get off of those phones? And I encourage people. Like I said earlier, we're live on Dirt Vision every time we race at Volusia, and I'm trying to get the message out there. Come to the racetrack. Experience. It's one thing watching it on TV. It's another thing when you're smelling that rear end that just blew up coming off a 4, the motor, or it just to hear the noise, and yeah, you're going to get a little dusty. But actually, we got new clay at Volusia. We put it on in March after the World of Outlaw Lost Energy Sprint Cars ran the Bike Week Jamboree. We ran Sunday and Monday, and the new clay is nice. The guys that have run there for years, they say the old Volusia's back, so it's pretty neat.
You were talking about promotion. I don't know if everybody's heard. At the Indy 500 today, they have all 6 Oscar Mayer Wienermobiles, and they're going to do a race with the Wienermobile.
Yep. Somebody sent me a picture of that yesterday and say, hey, Bob, you think you can call this race? Yeah, no problem.
Well,
yes, I got a picture. I can show you that picture.
Tony, that might be better than a Crown Vic race for you. You could be a Wienermobile. Here
There
comes
you go.
Tony in the Wienermobile.
But yeah, that's trying to get fans in the stands. And Wendell from Alltech's a good friend of mine, and live streaming, is it hurting the local tracks? I believe it is. For Volusia Speedway, World Racing Group owns Dirt Vision, so they're live streamed all the time. So they got you. If you want to sit home and watch Volusia, you can do that. Just subscribe to Dirt Vision.
Let me stop you at this point.
Okay.
We'll take a break and come back to it.
Okay.
The caution flag is out. Time for a break. We'll be right back with the Legends of Racing radio show. Daytona Flea and Farmers Market is still the one for great savings and the best variety. Whether you need flowers and trees for your home or you're looking for great prices on Daytona Beach souvenirs, the market is the place to go. The market features 1,000 booths, 2 air-conditioned malls, a restaurant, and 9 snack shacks. Hops Grill features gourmet burgers and garden blend salads. Treat yourself to a great variety of brat and hot dog creations at the Dog House, or enjoy a refreshing drink at the Seltzer Oasis. The market is open every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and is 90% undercover, so you can shop rain or shine. There's never a charge for parking or admission. Enjoy our monthly classic car cruise-in on the first Saturday of every month, and garage sale weekend, the third weekend of every month. See all we have to offer at DaytonaFleaMarket.com or like us on Facebook. Discover Daytona's most unique shopping experience, the Daytona Flea and Farmers Market, just a mile west of the Speedway. We're back from where it all began, racing's original North Turn Beach Bar and Grill. The Legends of Racing radio show continues with your host, Buzz McKim.
All right.
Well, here we are back at, time's going by fast, and I know we got a lot of other questions. This portion of the show is brought to you by Homewood Suites by Hilton out on International Speedway. Buzz always gives a great plug for them and talks about their happy hour in the afternoon and free breakfast in the morning. Never says anything about sleeping. I don't know what he does out there. But anyway, we're back with Bob Stoekel, and we have Larry out of the audience with a question.
Hello, Larry.
Hi, Bob. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Right off the
You're
bat.
welcome.
There's a couple things I'd like to know. First, I'd like to know, what do you do for a living? Because I know announcing doesn't pay enough. to survive.
You're absolutely right. Well, what brought me to Florida was I went to Embry-Riddle, and I graduated from there, and I got a job down at the Cape for General Dynamics. I worked on the Atlas Centaur and the Shuttle Centaur program. And as a little kid, I mowed yards, and after my second son was born, I said, you know what? I'm going to quit that job and go cut grass. So I basically had a landscaping business for 32 years and then retired a couple years ago. So that's what I did.
Very cool, man. Yeah, retirement is great.
It's great. I love it.
And that frees you up to be able to do what you
Exactly
really love to
right.
do.
Yep.
That's a fact. Anyways, I want you to know also that my cousins my son's cousins won a race at Daytona at Bristol Speedway that same night.
The night Trey Mills won it?
They won on in the 711, a modified. Yeah.
No kidding.
The
Wow.
same night that Trey won.
Really
Yeah.
cool.
Very cool for him.
Yeah.
Anyways, I grew up around racing, Auto City Speedway in Mount Morris, Michigan, and watched a lot of dirt tracking, but also I like to go to New Smyrna also. You know, I like both sets of racing. Now, you mentioned that you interviewed a lot of people. Was there any time when you were interviewing somebody where you'd rather been in the tower?
Well, that's a great question. So when you're an announcer, you're always the new microphone that I have doesn't have an immediate mute button. Okay, so I have to do this because sometimes in Victory Lane you can have another driver. They had an altercation on the track, come jumping over the stands, and then it's like, okay, we're now we got to be security rather than announcing Victory Lane. So do I want to be back in the tower? No, I want to be part of it. But it's a great question, yeah. And a lot of times if we have an issue, maybe we got to do some track prep or something, I'll go down in the grandstands and talk to the fans. And once in a while I might run into somebody that might have had one or two many adult beverages.
No.
Yeah. And then they start, and it's like, okay, we're out of here. But anyway, thank you for the question. So.
Okay, getting back to what you're doing there on an everyday basis, bringing fans in. You know, I think what's hurting fans coming to the races are the cost. You've already mentioned you're holding your cost at $13 a seat. Is that right?
$13, yeah.
So what are you doing about all of the other stuff, the hamburgers and hot dogs? I'm thinking about mom and dad and two kids going to the races.
Right. Our hamburgers, I think they're like $5.
Oh, maybe I'll eat there tonight.
There you go. I mean, really, and we kind of pride ourselves on good concession, track food, we call it. We have a couple vendors like Waikiki Noodles. They're there. Steve Boylan, Steak on the Stick. He's usually there. He's probably gone for the summer now. But you can't go to the movies for, I don't know how many years since I've been to the movies, but to come out there and then do we get not yelled at, but I'm up and down in the tower. Well, it's already 10:30. My kid's here, and we haven't run the late model feature yet. Nobody's tying you to the seat. You know, I can't help it. Like Saturday night, the Top Gun sprint cars were there. Lap number 1 going down the front straightaway, Danny Martin and J.R. Steele decided that they wanted that spot, and they both went tumbling down the front straightaway, destroyed both cars, ripped a big hole in the track. So we had to get a packer out there, and, you know, it took 20 minutes, a half hour. So that's into your show. And then, you know, we got no control on how these drivers drive. I mean, you guys know. It's like one night it's really smooth, and the next night when it's a full moon, it's yellow after yellow. So it's tough.
Well, you mentioned earlier, if you look up into the stands, you see 3 middle-aged, young-looking guys.
Yeah,
you got the story.
Yeah.
How do we preserve this for the future? I think one of those things is having a reasonable price where a family can go, being able to buy a T-shirt and a hot dog or whatever you want to do. I think you're doing the right thing. How do you see the pricing in the future?
We're going to stay the same. We went up $1. We were $12 last year. Is $1 going to make or break Volusia Speedway Park? No, it's not. Okay? One of the things, and we all know this, that back when we were kids, everybody's, you know, we don't have any 20-year-olds out there. When we grew up, there was a gas station. If there was a race car, it was on the bay or it sat out front. There was open trailers. There was no enclosed trailers. And then you'd load up your number 94 car on your open trailer and you stop at the gas station for gas. And Rich and Tony pull up and, hey, what is that?
Yeah.
It's a race car. Where you racing? We're running Middletown tonight. Come out and watch us. That doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
So we lost that group of people that have never seen a race. They don't know what it is. I've interviewed people at Volusia that live in DeLeon Springs. Volusia Speedway is not in Barberville. It's in DeLeon Springs. They've never been there before. They lived there for 30 years. Where the hell you been? You know? It's like, well, we didn't really know about it. Well, you know, here we are. Come see us.
Well, one of the things you're saying to me, and we're hearing this loud and clear, this is a family sport.
It is. I tell you, I'm sure everybody out there is a race fan. I can speak for all you folks. We are different people, I think.
Yes.
I truly believe that. Race fans and people that are involved in racing, it's such a huge family. If those two guys are on the racetrack and they're wrecking one another, they're going to be hot. But the next week when he needs a shock, that guy right there is going to give it to him. It's like, and I don't know. I'm a race fan. That's way more than an announcer. I'm a race fan, and it's family. All you guys are family, and I got to know so many people through my years. And I'm going to touch real quick.
Yeah.
So when I was doing the banquets, we used to have them at Daytona Speedway, the 500 Club or whatever it was, and we had special guests. I had Juan Pablo Montoya. He was the best interview I ever did. Hysterical. I had, just like the three of us, it was me, David Reagan, and Tony Stewart. And we had all the kids out there. And this is when Tony broke his leg. Remember that?
That's been a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. And we would hand it out to the kids to ask questions. And I'll never forget this young lady, Taylor Watson, said, "Mr. Stewart, could I have Danica's ride when she retires?" This girl's probably 8 or 9 years old, you know. But I was so fortunate to do the banquets. I had Mike Skinner, Mike Helton, you know, the president, former president. Like I said, Skinner, Montoya, and, of course, Mark Martin, because he was always there. And it's just been, you know, my ride of being a race fan and get to do what I do is second to none.
Good story. Let's go for a break.
Okay.
The caution flag is out. Time for a break. We'll be right back with the Legends of Racing radio show. Welcome to Homewood Suites by Hilton in Daytona Beach. You're right in the middle of all the action. Daytona International Speedway, the airport, One Daytona, Florida's newest entertainment and retail destination, and of course, the world's most famous beach. You'll love our newly remodeled 1- and 2-bedroom suites, along with our popular King Studios. You won't need your full kitchen, as Homewood Suites Daytona serves up complimentary breakfast and evening social. It's like home away from home. Go to HomewoodDaytona.com for Homewood Suites by Hilton in Daytona Beach. We're back from where it all began. Racing's original North Turn Beach Bar and Grill. The Legends of Racing radio show continues with your host, Buzz McKim.
Well, once again, this hour seems to be going by pretty fast, and I think we got maybe another couple hours. Everybody want to stay another couple hours and listen to this?
They're bored.
There's two guys right here that you brought along with you who I would see in the stands, right?
Yes.
I can tell by the way they look.
The guy on the right, he used to run asphalt up in Pennsylvania like 85 years ago. Well, not that. No. But he would rather, and this is great. I think he would rather go to an asphalt race.
Yeah.
The gentleman next to him, he was actually, I'll call him a guest in the tower a couple weeks ago. He spent the night up there in the tower with me all night. So, yeah, they're definitely race fans.
Well, this segment is brought to you locally by Legends of Racing Foundation. And have you got anything that you haven't mentioned that you want to talk about right now?
Well, our schedule here at Volusia, like I said earlier, it's kind of late this season. Next time we race, it's going to be on Saturday night, June the 14th, and we call it the Fab Five, which is the 5 divisions that we're running all year. The only time we don't run the Fab Five is when we run the sprint cars, and then we cut it to 4 divisions. We drop the late models. So if you folks out there watching want to come out to Volusia on Saturday night, June 14th, it'll be the Fab Five, and then our next race after that will be Saturday, July 12th, and then we're going to do August 29th, 30th, which is the Labor Day Classic. That'll be a 2-day event. September, October, and then we close the season. And I wanted to touch, thank you, Rich, on this. Yeah. You guys had Buzzy Rudiman here, I think it was last year, the year before, on this show, and we run the Rudiman Memorial at Volusia. It started out, it was run at East Bay, it was run at Ocala, it was run at a couple other racetracks, and we have the honors of running the Rudiman Memorial now. And if you know any history about the Rudiments, it was a sad story on September 14th, 1973, where Buzzy's dad and younger brother were going from Golden Gate Speedway, or on their way to Golden Gate Speedway, and the drunk driver ran a light and they had a collision, and the trailer came off and sheared the cab, and we lost Buzzy's dad, 73, and his brother, and another person named Andrew Stone. So we have the memorial race there, and it's one of the most prestigious dirt car UMP modified races in the country. We get them from all over the place, and it's a 50-lap race, 10,000 to win, and it's an honor. It's in honor of the Rudiment family, and it's a neat thing. So if you folks are in the area at that time, it's definitely one to have on your calendar, and it's November 20th through the 22nd, and it'll be the 12th annual Rudiment Memorial, and it's really neat. So, being I'm on the Rudiments now, I said earlier that as a kid I was a Buzzy Rudiment fan.
Yeah.
Okay, so in 1972 was the first year at Syracuse on the mile. I was there. Buzzy won the first two at Syracuse. Okay, it was the Schaefer 100 at the time, and he ran Middletown that year. He won Eastern States, and he won the Point Championship. And I went to the banquet that when Buzzy got his trophy for winning the Point Championship. 50 years later, I got to hand my childhood hero, Buzzy Rudiment, a championship trophy because he won the points at Volusia in 2022. Now that's a story. 50 years later.
Great story.
And you know, getting the interview, and I have pictures in my office, and he has one in his shrine because I've been over to Zephyr Hills quite a few times. And when he won a race in 2022, and it's like, it was amazing. Victory Lane was like, it was really cool.
Yeah. Well,
so
I'm hearing your story, and you say it. You've got it in your mind. You can say you got it in your heart. You just told us a heartfelt story.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fantastic.
It's pretty neat. And he just turned 84, and he's still racing. He ran Saturday night. He was Hot Laps doesn't pay anything. It's bragging rights, but he was overall fast time in Hot Laps.
Really?
Yeah. 84 years old.
Yeah. Well,
so it was pretty cool.
So, with knowing your schedule, what is anything extra we can expect to see out of Volusia?
Not really, not for this season. Like I said, we're going to run the Fab Five for the rest of the season on a one night a month, basically, and then we run sprint cars again. The Top Gun sprint cars are there. When are they? Top Gun. They're going to be there on September the 20th. So that a lot of people like sprint cars.
Oh,
They got the wings. They're the 360 sprints. They're not the 410s. But yeah, it's a great place. And just come on out there, and if you stop by, come up to the tower and say hello, and
we'll do that.
We'll do some chit chat. So
a quick one. Let me tell you about my sprint car experience.
Okay.
Those guys are for real. They're getting it. I got an invitation to drive one once.
Did you really?
Yeah. I thought I was a good racer. I was pretty good. I was nowhere near ready for that, let me tell you.
Those guys, they scare me. Seriously. I'm in the tower. If I step outside and they're going around there, those guys are crazy.
I love them on dirt,
Yeah.
but when they're on asphalt, they're even more crazy.
Oh, yeah.
There's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So if you see a sprint car race anywhere and you haven't seen it,
come to Volusia.
Yeah. You got to go. You got to go to that. It's it changes your mind about racing, and
it does.
We're a NASCAR group here, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I watch NASCAR not as much as I used to, but it's racing. You know, I would call a wagon race or a tricycle race if I could. And you know, one of the other great things about working at Volusia and World Racing Group, you know, Brian Carter is the CEO. He owns Volusia World Racing Group, the World of Outlaw Sprints, World of Outlaw Late Models. We put that new clay on the second week in March. The first two races of the year, he wasn't there last Saturday. You'll see Brian Carter on a grader, in the water truck, on a packer. You know, he's a hands-on, great guy. And World Racing Group, they're a great company to work for, and it's just awesome. And getting to work at Volusia, wherever I go in the country, if there's a racetrack, asphalt or dirt, I'm going to stop by. I'm going to talk to somebody. Every time I do that, I was in Wisconsin a couple years ago, wound up in the Tower, and it's just Volusia is known all over the racing world.
Well,
It's
yes.
it's a neat place. I'm lucky. Pinch
Well,
me.
Florida's a great place to come in
It
the
is.
wintertime.
It is, yep.
So everybody gets to know it,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, very few people are going north in the summertime.
Exactly.
So
Yep.
it's I really have enjoyed this conversation about as much as any other person we've interviewed, because you love racing, you see it as a family sport, you're trying to continue it.
Yep.
I mean, it's nothing more we can say than thank you
That's all we
very
can do.
much for
Well,
that.
thank you.
That's
Thank you
great.
for having me.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Tony.
Bob.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It was fun. Thanks
Well-
for the questions.
Well,
So-
I think we have a crowd here that I see everybody smiling just about. They're listening. The crowd's a little short today. It's a holiday weekend, and buzz is off.
Buzz
you
is
know?
off,
I
yeah.
can't. We can't handle the buzz. People come because of the buzz.
Yep.
So with that, I'd say we'll close this
Here we
off,
go.
and thank you very much.
Well, thank you guys for having me. Thank you.
The Legends of Racing radio show originates live from the very spot where beach racing began. Racing's original North Turn Beach Bar and Grill. Join us next time for the Legends of Racing radio show.